What's happening, everyone? Welcome to the live. And that's my live show for the day. Just kidding. There we go. So welcome everyone to one of the live sessions here. This piece right here is called Dragon's Fight, and it's one of the biggest pieces, one piece I've done in a single canvas. And it's quite the work in progress. So as you can see, it's taken me quite a bit to do, even though the amount that I can do in a short span. The time is pretty intense, you know what I mean? Like, when I look at making art and what people advise artists to do, there's one artist consultant in particular, I think he goes by the last name of Klein. I don't want to misname him or misquote him, but he says if you're not a full-time artist, right, in essence, even full-time artists, they should be dedicating about 20 hours a week to the work, making the work, right? And if you're someone with a full-time job, that can be pretty difficult to do, right? So, even if you're to break down in the same day, week span, you know what I mean, like where you put 1 hour, let's say, right, to the work, and 7 hours a week. That's a considerable amount of time, effort, and focus, right? But in essence, you're only doing half the required status quo, right? Whatever that is, if you want to put a stand for. However, the reason why I take my time with this particular piece, and why I decided to take my time and just all of this stuff that I'm doing is just because my time right now is very precious. It's very valuable. And there's no reason for me to rush a good thing. Right? And therefore, as much as I can put out many abstractions, visual canvases, color combinations, no matter the material I use, I'm choosing this particular medium where there's a fine line between the abstract but also just precise meaning here. There's just so much being encoded in this canvas, stroke by stroke, you know, and at a particular time span in my life, you know what I mean? So, to me, each one of these strokes also is worth the amount of my paycheck every week. It's that little bit that I get, it's the chance that I get to tune off between the responsibilities that I have, just not in my job, my career development, but as a family man, you know, my kids, everything matters so much to me, and even though I'm also just going through a divorce, even my ex, she matters so much to me. She's the mother of my kids. So every single one of these strokes matter. So I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. But this is why AI will never take this, you know. But as I was saying, it takes so much effort to do this. Sit down. Even though if it's for 1 hour of the week. No matter the standard you set, you know. Sometimes I'll be rushing out, and if I have 20 minutes to sit down and bang this, at least one little spot out and do a live session, to me, I'm putting in 20 hours worth of work. If anything, it's my life. It's over 20 years, in a way, of me seeing myself as an artist and being an artist, being a creative person, you know. So. And even every little new thing I learn and I seem to absorb into a medium or way of being, expressing myself, and it just all makes sense in this moment. Right now I'm taking up calligraphy, right, as an art form. I have, if you're interested in mastering calligraphy, this is a beautiful book over here. But in it, he has all these little strokes and everything. little exercises, and I started to do them, but then I'm like, this is like, just, you started to see your own way of doing things just through the letter form of communicating, and the simple, like, touch of the pen with ink. So I saw this, like, language kind of taking on itself, and at the time I was trying to learn how to mix colors and combine different spectrums. Yeah, it's intense. This is a combination of so many things. And there's my love for architecture, planning. One of the last segments I did, I went on about the drawing table. There's a feeling of this being like some sort of computer algorithm module kind of thing. There's just so many emblematic stories and narratives being played here that it just might seem like just an abstraction, and me just simply trying to carve something out of that abstract, and in essence that's what I'm doing. But that's also part of the game. It's also part of the story of the journaling aspect of creating something in the artist's own life and spectrum of life, and the point in time. You know what I mean? Like, it's just each little dot, each little piece of it just means so much. And one of the coolest things of being able to do it live is just because it just connects to the ether right away. You know what I mean? And it's unfiltered. It's as authentic as one could be, unscripted. Even though it is scripted, it's often might feel predestined, predetermined, whatever your outlook in life is. But yeah, if I had to sum up what I'm doing and introduce you to the live session, that's what I'm doing. Usually I go off about explaining what I do, because that's been mostly the main question in the comments is, hey, what kind of art, what are you doing? Like, can you explain what you're doing? And anyways, I hope if you have any more questions, and if that's what one of the questions was, I hope that explained it a bit for you and gave you some context. Like, one of my other lives that I went off about here is art is not necessarily feeling forced to explain their work, because to artists that's not the point, right? But to give the art work some context is quite crucial, but it's also not the artist's duty. It's also the critic's, job, and I feel like that's why some artists are hesitant to even try to go there, right? Because they want to maintain the integrity of their voice, and sometimes they can. Like, I've even myself as a critic of other things and other aspects of life, you know what I mean? Like, when you kind of take on the critic role, you're subjected to a whole other world, and your train of thought is completely taken up with information that you're trying to connect and piece together. So it's a whole other puzzle, right? And depending on the medium that you're in and that seems natural to you, it's hard to really have these multiple roles, and but it's also depending on your line of work, that thought or that way of thinking is also limiting in a way. So I don't want to advise you to do that. Um, it's very important for us to set standards for ourselves, but the minute we start to project that, onto the world, it can be a little bit of a detriment, right, to society, to the free market, and even yourself, because then you have to all of a sudden uphold that standard, not knowing that there are so many other different ways to go about doing something, and creating something beautiful that was so natural to you, but the way you thought simply limited you from so much more. You know what I mean? So, this might take one of the other hot takes for the day. My goal is to try to bridge the piece and see if it can match. For some days, like, I find that I'm so in tune with the strokes, and some days I find that I'm not. It requires more effort, making it seem natural. Also, my ink is very large. I wonder if it's because I have my heat cranking. It's chilly. appreciate you tuning in today.